Hi, this is Matt McVan. I'm at the Washington State Convention and Trade Center here in Seattle, Washington for the Emerald City Comic Con. Now in its sixth year, the Emerald City Comic Con has become the premier comic book and pop culture convention in the Pacific Northwest. Guests from around the world were invited to attend this year's convention, and they were more than happy to be there.
This has to be like my must-do show at this point. The Jim DeMonakis and his brother George, who run this, they bring in hundreds of top-name guests. Everybody seems to be having fun. Seattle's an excellent town to come and hang out in. Everybody's friendly. It's a great downtown area where there's always somewhere interesting to go. And so I absolutely love doing this show. I try not to miss it.
Oh, it's great. This is actually one of my favorite conventions. In fact, probably the favorite convention. San Diego, WonderCon, a few of the other ones are nice, but it's kind of like being injected into a living organism because they're rather big and sprawling. This one's big, but really good focus on comics, really for comics fans, and I love that. And they take good care of us. So
people really seem to like this con. I've heard from a lot of attendees that they like the culture. They feel like, because with cons you really have two choices. You've got San Diego Comic-Con, which is a gigantic sort of multimedia blitz, and then you have your local comic convention, and I think that people feel like the Emerald City one is somewhere between the two, so they get some pretty big names. I mean, and they are, certainly, if you walk back through.
And who are some of the big names that have popped up into the Comic-Con is J. Michael Straczynski, who started out in TV creating shows like Babylon 5 and going on to redefine characters such as Spider-Man and Thor.
And over time, someone says to us, no, you can't do that sort of thing. That's not the professional. You'll disappoint yourself. You'll fail. That's the bad thing. We want to protect you from failure. The tyranny of common sense and common voices and helpful voices begins to assert itself. And in the course of that, we lose our sense of what we want to do with ourselves. And there's anything that what brought me from being a guy who goes to conventions and sat in the back row watching guys talk about this stuff to sitting here is that road runs through your passions. It runs through what you care about. And if you follow it, God darn it, you'll probably make it.
Well, I'm here with Tim Sale, artist for Batman Dark Victory, Long Halloween, and probably for those of you not into comics may know the artist that did a lot of the paintings in Heroes. The artist who is actually using your paintings, he dies. How did that affect? I mean, like, how does it keep going on? Are you just doing a lot of transition things, or how does that work?
Well, I can't really tell you, I'm afraid.
Okay.
But I do know that, well, I've already started, so I am working on season 3.
Pia Guerra co-created one of the most critically acclaimed comic book series that has come out in the last few years, Y: The Last Man, which just came to its final issue. But Guerra said in the beginning she's actually surprised that they even made it to the last issue.
The initial run was only about 17,000, which was really close to canceling numbers, and there didn't seem to be a lot of support behind it. I mean, there was a few ads here and there, but it just didn't seem like anyone really felt at Vertigo that it was going to go very far. It's like, we'll give it a shot. We really didn't think we'd go past 5 or 6. And then this word of mouth started around issue 3, and it just skyrocketed. We were stunned. We really didn't believe that it happened, and it just kept going from there.
But there's plenty of top-notch creators just coming in right out of the Pacific Northwest, including Seattle's Brandon Jerwa.
Very different world between the comics and the cartoon. In the cartoon they have lasers and couldn't hit anything anyway, but with the comic they have live rounds and people occasionally bite the big one, and it's a little more grounded in reality as much as you can with guys in snake suits and emperors with clone DNA from the history's greatest conquerors.
everything else, there's a project at Vertigo in development that I can't talk about. There's a webcomic project in development that I can't talk about. Come back and talk to me in a couple of months.
The Comic-Con is also a great spot for up-and-coming artists and creators to show their work and get into some contact with some of the bigger names.
the best thing is like talking to everybody, and everyone's so friendly and liking your stuff and looking through it. So, I mean, that's really enjoyable.
So as small creators, it's important to come to the con, just kind of get your name out, networking, things like that?
Exactly. Network with people, kind of get your book out there, and also network with some of the people from the bigger comic book companies, and just kind of touch base and put a name to the face.
We've focused on the creators in this segment. The Emerald City Comic Con is really all about the fans.
A pure comic book show. I mean, it's much more fan-friendly. It's much more for the fans. That the creators are a little laid back and more willing to spend some time with their fans.
Fans who feel so passionately about this work that they dress up as their favorite characters.
Well, I grew up with Star Wars, so I was wanting to be a stormtrooper since I was a little kid. So I finally got to live the dream.
Like one comic store owner from Oregon who drove all the way up to the Seattle Con to have J. Michael Straczynski sign a fabricated Thor hammer. It was 2 full days of gaming, comics, and fanboys, and now I'd like to consider myself one of them. Now, if you're interested in the next con that's going to be heading towards our area, there's the Olympia Comics Festival that'll be running Saturday, June 7th. For more information on that, go to www.olympiacomicsfestival.org.